Okay, so all eyes will be watching as the results start coming in tonight.
Joining us right now is Raphael Sonenshein, Executive Director of the Pat Brown Institute for Public Affairs at Cal State LA. So first off, Rafe, good morning to you.
Good morning to you.
So many people finally paying attention to an election, and sometimes that breeds confusion, and a lot of it is because every election law in a state is different. In some places, the ballot is counted if it's received on Election Day, sometimes if it's postmarked on Election Day. So many different rules. Why can't states be more consistent?
Because every state gets to make their own election rules. It's basically 50 state elections plus the District of Columbia all holding their election on the same day. There is no national rule except a few guidelines. And then people have this crazy notion that the Supreme Court actually is supposed to certify the results, which is completely crazy because other than the Bush versus Gore decision, the Supreme Court has nothing to say in terms of what the final results are. The states are going to certify the results. They're going to send them off to Washington, D.C., and then finally in January, Congress will officially accept them. But really, it's 50 state elections plus D.C. That's what it is, and they all make their own rules.
Okay, good to know. So what states should we keep an eye on as results start coming in, and states needed for each to win? We need to know that too.
Sure. Well, you need 270 electoral votes. Donald Trump can't lose any states that he won in 2016, especially the ones that we'll hear about tonight: Arizona, Florida, and Georgia, which we may hear quite a bit about tonight. We won't hear much about the big states tonight: Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan. We'll know more about them tomorrow. Most of the states, well, a lot of them will finish counting by noon tomorrow. I think we're going to know who's won this election by the weekend. We may know tonight if a state like Florida goes for Joe Biden, then I think the path for Donald Trump isn't really there. If Trump wins all three of those other states, he's still in the running, and then we'll have to see what happens in the battleground Midwest states.
And Rafe, you used a critical word there. We might know who wins. I want people to really understand what it is that you're talking about, because that's really a projection based on how many votes are out there, how many votes they know. People want to read things into that. We might even see a concession tonight. But tell us a little bit more about how we get to that know who wins.
Well, there's a simple rule, which is the election is over when all the votes are counted, even if it takes a month. But in the presidential race, we will probably know faster than we will in the congressional races, in the House and Senate races, which could go on for quite a while. But basically, in the presidential race, because of the Electoral College, if one candidate wins in key states, we will know most likely who's going to be elected president. Again, if Trump loses a bunch of states he won in 2016, he's not going to win because he's not campaigning to add to his coalition. So his fear is subtraction. Joe Biden could win a big victory because he's been campaigning on a broader canvas. That's why we may know the presidential result before all the other elections. Before we know who's district attorney of LA, we'll probably know who's president. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Very, but Rafe, I think I want to maybe complicate the process a little bit for you. Some states are trying to think about dividing their electoral college votes instead of winner take all. Would that make things more difficult going into the future?
Well, yes, but they can't do that for this election.
Right. But that would be very interesting if people start doing that.
Yeah, only Maine and Nebraska do that. I think in the future what we may see is a great movement for all the states to allocate their electoral votes in proportion to the popular vote. If they all did it, and it didn't give a partisan advantage to one part or the other, as opposed to doing it only in a few states, that would be a great development, because I don't know how much longer we can live with this crazy electoral college. It's impossible to explain. It makes no sense. It disenfranchises those who are outvoted in each state. It's got to go somehow, and that's probably the best way to do it.
Yeah, and it's
that's a debate
deflating.
for another time.
Right, but it's deflating. It's deflating to voters who feel like their vote should count, and sometimes they feel like it doesn't. So thank you so much.
But remember, their vote counts for Congress and Senate and all the other local races as well.
Amen.
It still counts.
Amen. Thank you so much. Raphael Sonenshein, Executive Director of the Pat Brown Institute for Public Affairs at California State LA. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
It was my pleasure.